Nita, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Zimbabwe, thank you so much for choosing Zimnet Radio. We are now live, and we hope that you are enjoying life wherever you are, and that you have got good health there, because without health, we are nobody. Last week we had other issues that we were talking about, but anyhow, we don't want to dwell on what we discussed last week. If you missed the show and you'd like to revisit it or listen back to it, you can always do that on our website, www.zimnetradio.com, or you can catch the show on YouTube. Sally is doing a great job there on throwing them on YouTube. All you got to go and search DJ, leave a space, Sodza, Sodza, and you can choose which show you want to listen to that you might have missed. So that's what we do. But today we've got other issues that we want to talk about. Not least, there was no way in a million years was I going to talk about what happened on a football pitch in Bulawayo there at Babafield Stadium, because I know there's bigger fish out there to fry. But it turned out that the disturbance that happened on Sunday there when Dynamos was playing Highlanders in Bulawayo, it is kind of initiate or in fact mobilize other people out there that might have their own agendas of tribalism not alone. People were saying that, because Ndebele people are always violent anyway, and someone was saying, every Highlanders game now should be played with no supporters in there and all that. So people have gone overboard, and a lot of things have been happening on social media, which is quite disappointing. So I just thought maybe we might talk a little bit about that and ask how right is tribalism as we speak for Zimbabwe right now. I thought that was a 30-40 years time thing that happened, and people were moving on now. We've got other issues that are troubling us in Zimbabwe there. Our economy is down and all that. And we are looking forward to the elections next year. That's what we should be talking about. But this has come to naught. So we want to talk about that a little bit. And imbonzwawo kuti vadare vedu vanoti kudi nezvakaitika ikoko. Zvisinei regai ndichingamidze Sally. Sally, welcome to the show. We missed you last week.
Good evening, DJ Sodza. I was taking a break.
Oh, okay.
I didn't take my husband out to dinner. I don't do dinner with my husband. I did it once. I will never, ever do it again.
All right. Okay. All right. Right. We'll discuss that on another day, because really you should be taking your husband for dinner at least once a month, I'm told, to show your appreciation.
No. You know what it was like? You know when you go to a restaurant and you see a couple sitting, and the one's looking out the window and the other one's looking at the toilet door or something, and nobody's talking. That I did it once. Never again.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I go out to dinner, which I don't, because I don't like going to restaurants, I go with a whole lot of people.
Right. Okay. Don't worry. What I'll do, Sally, next year, I'll visit South Africa, and I'll take you and the husband, and I'll take my wife with me, so the four of us can go and enjoy ourselves there.
Yeah, please. I can't go just by myself with the men. No, please. No. Hey.
Thank you so much, Sally. Mkoma Wilbert, how are you there, my brother?
I'm fine. Thank you. Welcome to all Zimbabweans, wherever you are and who are listening at this moment. And we hope we're going to have a nice discussion tonight.
Fabulous indeed. Mkoma Benford, welcome to the show.
Maita basa DJ Sodza makadiko muri Zimbabwe.
Tinofara chose. Someone I know it's out of topic. Someone was saying that what is the difference between Donald Trump and Robert Mugabe? When Donald Trump can fire a top police, whatever they call them there, FBI, because he has refused to do a certain thing for him. What about, back home there when someone just fires, Mugabe just fires someone and they all cry? These things are happening here in the West and people just shove them under the carpet. Someone was telling me that.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. I think there's a lot in common between Trump and Mugabe.
Right, okay, all right. Which we are not going to discuss about tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's good to have you, Pasho Mkoma Benford. Mungada uchingapedza vateereri.
Tinokwazisa nemufaro mhuri yeZimbabwe kwese kwamuri ndichimba kuti nhasi tichava nechimwe chirongwa chakanaka pamain scholar pana.
Thank you so much, Mkoma Benford. Maybe may I start with you, Mkoma Benford? Did you see what happened kubhora pakakutamba Highlanders neDynamos musi Sunday, and there was violence erupted there, and the match was abandoned. But what follows after? It's an all cry from all corners. And some are going as far as saying that Ndebele people have always been violent people.
I think to say Ndebele people have been bad, I think is missing the point. Big teams like Highlanders and Dynamos, those are big national teams. It does not mean that all Highlanders supporters are Ndebele. You find it in Blawa, you have so many Shona people who are not supporting Highlanders. In as much as also in Blawa, you have so many Ndebele people supporting Dynamos. So it's not an issue of Ndebele people being violent or that. I think that's missing the point. It's just a matter of hooliganism in soccer, which must be dealt with without involving issues of tribalism.
Tribalism, but the question comes with that is how ripe is tribalism in Zimbabwe? Has this gone now? We don't have that Kanakuti. It's still there on the surface.
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect. The way I've always looked at it is we have silent tribalism in Zimbabwe. And I can give you an example. Most people would normally accuse Ndebele people of being tribalistic, but actually I think most Shona people are tribalistic. And I will explain myself here. You look at the Pakatanga MDC, when we had Morgan Tsvangirai and Gibson Swanda, I strongly believe Gibson Swanda was a better leader. He should have been the president of MDC, but the reason why Morgan was made president is because Shona have a dominance, and therefore they felt that they could not win if they put in the Ndebele person. You saw the same thing happened when Vanawashman Nue broke away from MDCT. They had to bring in Arthur Mutambara to take over leadership here that MDC. For some reason, at this moment, it would appear to me that as a country, we are not prepared to have a Ndebele president, which is very sad as far as I'm concerned. That is why I'm saying that's the silent tribalism that I can see. Otherwise, in day-to-day life, I don't think it matters that much.
Okay. Mkoma Benford, are you telling me that if there was a Ndebele leader there, people would go and vote against him or her simply because they were Ndebele?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that happen. I saw that happening when I was at the University of Zimbabwe. Paitwa ma student election. They would have very good Ndebele leaders, but come on the day of the election, you'd hear people going around in circles saying, "No, we can't be led by Ndebele," and they would always lose because of that. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of the silent tribalism that I can think of happening in Zimbabwe.
But it's still right there.
Yeah.
Do you think it's any worse than it was in the past?
In a way, I could say that because in the past it was expressed as Lionel outside. Okay, at the moment it's silent. That's what I'm saying. It's even more dangerous because people don't talk about it openly. But in terms of our political environment, it's probably the worst problem we have in Zimbabwean politics.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Mkoma Benford. To come back to you shortly. Let me go kwa muri Mkoma Wilbert. Mkoma Wilbert, I'm sure you saw what happened.
Oh yeah, I saw a few articles what happened. But I take it from a slightly different angle. I think the problem we have in Zimbabwe is when you have got an economy that is in total collapse. Then it's just the same as here. The issue of race comes to the surface every time the economy is not doing well. Because those people who consider themselves locals will be thinking of, we are unemployed because these foreigners are taking our jobs. So when things are not going well, you always look for somebody else to blame. And in this particular case, when the economy has reached the point where 90% are unemployed, and some of them have been unemployed for the last 10 to 15 years, that is the reality that you're facing. So in this particular case, then whatever small differences you have start coming out to the surface. Be they regional, tribal, or whatever, they will always come to the surface. So in this particular case, the economic situation forces people to be divided and start having all these totally unjustifiable rivalries and hatred and so forth. And unless we address the economy, this is what is going to happen. It's going to get worse. And that is what to look at. And that is one of the consequences of this situation. Those people who were rioting, some of them, you may find actually if you were to sit down with them and say, what happened? You could see, this was bottled up anger that came out, and this was just an opportunity to express it. Some of them, when they heard there was rioting, they went from their homes to go and join, just because they were frustrated. They just wanted to let out some steam, And in this particular case, it just happened, but it is Dynamo supporters versus Highlanders supporters. There is nothing wrong with rivalry in a game, for instance. You have got here teams like Manchester United versus Manchester City or Liverpool or whatever, and those games are played, there's a lot of passion in them, but they never boil to violence. In a situation like ours, it will boil to violence, yes.
Okay. Mkoma Wilbert, there's a few things that, we want to, I just want to talk about. Especially forget about the football match that was being played there. It's the aftermath that I'm worried about. Now, would you agree with people saying that really this violent, Jebele people are always more violent than Shona people?
I think if we go down that route, we are only adding fuel to the fire.
To the fire, yes.
So, yeah, in this particular case, you have got to address the underlying causes, because I've seen a lot of articles, for instance, where some people are claiming that Matabeleland area is less developed than the rest of the areas. They only see it because they come from there. But if you go to the rest of the country, if unemployment is 90% in Bulawayo, it is also 90% in Mutare. So in this particular case, if you only look at your problem and you think you must be the worst part, then that is what fuels the tribal hatred and discrimination and so forth. So in this particular case, I think as long as we do not address the underlying causes, we are actually going to build up this problem to the point where, the tribes will start fighting each other.
Okay. Mukoma Wilbert, is Zimbabwe ready for Ndebele president? Ndebele speaking president.
I think to ask that question is Zimbabwe ready for a competent president? Is what you should ask.
Right.
Under the present situation, with the political polarization, with the poverty and so forth, it is very difficult to see who is really the best candidate. So you tend to vote on the basis of tribe or region or whatever, which is totally wrong. If you have got a democratic system where you're looking at a situation where a party like MDC Nuwe that Benford was talking about there, if they had if the political system was open so that there is really meaningful competition, and whoever is leading it can come up with policies that people can say, yeah, I think that would work. I don't see why people would say, well, we'll vote for Mugabe just because we don't want X because he's from the other tribe. That would be absolutely, you don't shoot yourself in the leg like that. But if you are given a political situation where you cannot see the woods from the tree, and all you can see is all these corrupt people, then, you then tend to look for something else on the basis of which to vote. In this particular case, if he doesn't come from my area, I don't vote for him. Because if they're equally bad, I may just as well pick one from my area or one from my tribe. So it is the system that creates the problem.
So we are still politically immature.
Well, I think that is very true, but the system itself, DJ, is what makes it the way it is. Unless we change it, we will always have this kind of situation. Because what they've got to face is Mugabe does not want the political system to change, because they don't want a truly democratic political system. Just as much as within MDC itself, I think there is a lot of truth that although they call themselves a movement for democratic change, MDC is not democratic. There is a lot of undemocratic practices in that party, to the point where quality can never emerge. So you end up with these incompetent individuals, corrupt, and they failed, and they hang on to their position because of their tribal Nankili connections, and they promote people from their own tribe. And you see it happen in other political parties as well, where you find with even Mujuru's party, there was talk of at one time she wants to promote from some of her own colleagues, those people from her own area. Right. So there you are. You're looking at, instead of looking at quality leaders, you're looking at the tribal affiliations,
yes,
regional affiliations, which is the whole thing.
Thank you so much, Mukoma Wilbert, for that excellent description. Sally, you obviously heard what happened there in Bulawayo and what follows the aftermath of it. People now going on social media saying that, well, what can you expect from the very people? They are always violent. That really hit me. I thought that was, a dangerous thing to say, because who did the research to say that those people who were fighting, they must have been Shona people as well, and there are a lot of Shona people I know, they support Highlanders. There's nothing wrong. Simply because the Highlanders is a Bulawayo team doesn't mean that it has got Ndebele supporters only. It has got all supporters all over the world. Now, and it has gone on and on, and rumbles and rumbles and rumbles and rumbles, and I begin to think, right, tribalism, is it still right in Zimbabwe? I thought maybe it was something that, people were getting together after Joshua Nkomo joined Mugabe there. I thought, they've diffused everything. Well, what's your take on this whole thing, Sally?
Okay, if it was in a normal country, okay, it would be considered as hooliganism. All right? but Zimbabwe's not normal. You know, Bulawayo is my hometown. Okay, I love that city. I mean, I think it's the greatest city in the whole of Zimbabwe. All right, and what has happened is Bulawayo has been left behind. The development and everything is just non-existent in Bulawayo. Okay, the people have been marginalized. We had the massacre, which has never, ever, ever been addressed. The Ndebele people have never been heard. Okay, they've never that massacre has never been properly acknowledged and dealt with. Okay. Then wasn't there something about the was it the referee or the linesman or something that gave a wrong considered?
Well, Sally, there's conflicting information coming through
but
because
you see,
some are saying it was an offside, some are saying it wasn't an offside.
Right.
But at the end of the day, referees can make wrong decisions, but that doesn't give you the card to go and do that.
No, it doesn't. In a normal world, okay? But look at where the game was being played. Look at the feelings, the emotions, and I'm sure there was drink involved and a bit of imbanji on the side there, and people that were stirring, okay, and it blew up, and it's taken a life all of its own, okay. And then to top it all, now, Ndebele are the most violent people. Okay? I mean, you see, it's just another dig, another nail into the flesh of the Ndebele people. They already feel marginalized. They already feel downtrodden. They already feel excluded. There's so much emotion there that has very little to do with soccer, with football, okay? And then you get people, you see, you don't know what those stirrers were saying and shouting, okay? They could have been, I can hear my voice.
Okay, go ahead. It's to teach you that you just joined us there.
I don't like the sound of my voice.
Oh, okay. We like it, though.
And you then get, in a normal world where a ref or a linesman, whatever it is, making a wrong decision or a supposedly wrong decision, yes, people will start performing and jumping up and down and all that, okay? But it's more contained and more controlled. In Zimbabwe, abnormal world, abnormal situation, people with all those emotions, a tiny little thing can blow up into Mount Everest 50 times over. And I mean, it's so irresponsible on social media for people to turn around and say, the Ndebele are violent. It is irresponsible, childish, and it infuriates me to an extent that I just want to climb into the social media and just take the keyboard away from the people, okay? Because there's no need for it. You were playing a ZANU-PF game, okay? ZANU-PF has divided everybody, tribe, color, region, whatever, okay? They have put everybody against each other. Families even, okay? And every time you take a dig, like, oh, the Indebele people are violent. Okay, every time you take that dig, you are letting ZANU-PF win by controlling your way of thinking. How many Shona men are married to Indebele women? How many Indebele men are married to Shona women? How many families are joined together? Okay? Seriously, people must grow up. They must really and truly grow up. And stop this digging at the Indebele people. There is no need for it. None. It doesn't make you a better man. It doesn't make you a stronger man. It doesn't make you anything. It makes you a fool who's childish, okay, and who likes to play ZANU-PF games.
Aiwa. Sally, thank you so much. Maybe let me pose the same question that I've been asking other people. Is Zimbabwe ready for a Ndebele-speaking president?
I'd love to say yes.
But can you see that happening?
I'd love to see it happen. I would actually then go back to Zimbabwe and register, okay, and vote. I really would. People are too immature when it comes to politics, when it comes to judging somebody by whether they are good for the country or not. They're very immature, okay? They will go where they are told, or where.
Okay, Sally, you didn't answer my question though. My question was.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. Okay, thank you so much, Sally, for that. Mukoma Elliot Febemaskera Seiko kwenyu.
DJ ndaswera kana maswera waikoko.
Aiwa tinofara chose vapepe. Ndakaona zvangu bhora raitambwa. I know you are not into football a lot, vapepe, but I saw the game and the violence that came up. But, there's no way we can talk about those silly things, I thought. But, reading between the lines now, you hear what people are saying. Some are even going as far as saying that, well, it is well known that Ndebele people are violent people. That's what really got me going. And I thought, well, I might ask you guys what you think of all this.
I think that is a misrepresentation of facts on the ground. Of course, there will always be people who, at the toss of a coin, who want to vent their anger or to use propaganda to suit whatever their attitudes and what they are thinking. The fact of the matter is, this is football, and this is not the first time that even in Zimbabwe we had a sort of violent clashes between teams, and it is known. I think even when I was growing up as a young boy, I always knew that where there is a clash between Highlanders and Dynamos, there was bound to be some fiasco. So this is not new, but I think it has happened at a time whereby we have got a politically charged nation, in which case we have got people with their political inclination trying to misrepresent facts as being as a result of a tribal connotation or as a result of some political dynamism. But it's far away from that. This has always been like that, and it's not new in football globally. But again, so in a way, yes, I've read a few sentiments and people's expressions, And I think Zimbabweans, typical of Zimbabweans, we are at a crossroads at the moment, to such an extent that our inadequacy to solve our own political misfortunes is being seen in misrepresenting facts. Like this instance, for example. I mean, this is football, and I don't see anything unique about it.
Okay. If I may ask you, Pepe, is Zimbabwe ready for Ndebele speaking president?
I would say yes, it is. I can give you a reason for that. I think Zimbabweans are looking for a visionary leader, a leader with a transformational approach to solve the current issues in Zimbabwe. And we can cast our net as far back as Joshua Nkomo. Joshua Nkomo was a national figure. And it didn't matter whether you were coming from which part of the country, people associated Nkomo with a visionary leader. And yes, there were episodes where Mugabe used violence and force to silence him. But the fact of the matter, I think Joshua Nkomo showed Zimbabweans that it is possible, irregardless of where you come from, to rise above the tribal connotation. So yes, it is possible, and all what is required is that whoever that leader is able to set a vision that people can actually associate with. And
what about tribalism itself? Do you think it's getting worse, or it's actually dying off now?
I can't say that it is getting worse or that it is dying. I don't think there have been any change so far. Yes, there's an element of tribalism. There will always be some people who want to divide people according to tribal lines. They will always be there. And then that hasn't changed. But there's also another element to it, whereby there are fixed points in Zimbabwean history, like Gukura Wundi, for example. So obviously, people who were victim to Gukura Wundi, each time that they see any event that might signal a sort of a revisiting of such an era, it's bound to be, interpreted in that tribal lines. Because, I mean, true to the fact that the Gukura Wundi was targeted at specifically the Madabere, and the people who suffered and who were murdered, they were predominantly, yes, there might have been people from Mashonaland who were living in Madabere land, but the fact of the matter is that the majority of the people who suffered were people from Madabere land. But I think Zimbabweans at the moment, we are united against one common enemy, and that is Robert Mugabe and ZANU-PF.
Okay. Aywa, thank you so much, Koma Elliot, for giving us your thoughts on that. Mkoma Tichi Maswera Tsiku London. Mkoma Tichi, you've got a lot to say about this issue?
Not really, no. It's a non-issue to me.
Right.
What I only see is that unfortunately the people on social media that are castigating it as an Ndebele issue are showing rank ignorance. And it's pathetic, to say the least. They have no clue at all what they are talking about. The problem with social media, everyone wants to be an analyst. Everyone wants to pretend to know. Some have never actually been to Bulawayo, and they just want to waffle incoherent, and they have no clue what Bulawayo really is or what Ndebelés are. You know, it's total ignorance showing itself. Apologies. Let me cut this phone off.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. What I wanted to say is that I was born and bred in Bulawayo, in Mziligas, where Baba Field Stadium is, which means I would watch Highlanders training. I would watch Highlanders playing. I'd watch young people, including myself, rising within the ranks of Highlanders. Now, a simple fact that none of these people who Manering can even talk about is the fact that Highlanders has never, ever been a Ndebele team. Go back to its history at any point in time. Some of the superstars of Highlanders were people like George Chieza, people like Isaac Mafaro, people like Stanley Nyika. You can go all the way through all their greatest teams, Namo Shambira, you name it. There was never a single year or season that Highlanders was ever a Ndebele team. It's a team from Matabeleland, yes, founded by the Ndebele king Lobengur. But it's not a Ndebele team, never was. Especially in the days of the Rhodesian First Division through to the formation of the Zimbabwe Premier League. Highlanders was never, ever in its entire current football history been a Ndebele team. Never. Not once. So anyone talking tribalism is just bringing their stupid tribalism and politics into it. They are completely, 100% clueless. They don't know what they are talking about. Even the current Highlanders team is not a Ndebele team. Just dare anyone in future, to anyone listening to this program, to name a Ndebele team that made up Highlanders. One single season where they say the team was predominantly Ndebele. Highlanders is the most national team like any other team in Zimbabwe. Football is passionate because Highlanders and Dynamos are the biggest team in the country. When Zimbabwe Saints was there, the same fights would occur when Highlanders played Zimbabwe Saints, because there were two big teams, just like Cape United versus Dynamos. Not long ago this year, Dynamos fans had the police on the run with their dogs, truncheons, and everything. Riot Squad were there. They were on the run, running from Dynamos fans. No one said it's Shona tribalism. This is pure nonsense. I'm sorry to say.
No,
it's got absolutely nothing to do with mentioning Ndebele. It just goes to show the myopia that has come into our country. It's football hooliganism. It's got nothing to do with. There has been violence at Mandava. There's been violence at Shabani. There has been violence at Kaman Motor Stadium. There has been violence at Mkoba in Gweru, at Ascot, where Chapungu and Gweru United play. No one said tribalism. Just because people have got their own agendas, when it's Highlanders, they want to call it tribalism. This is nonsense. Simples. There is no story there.
Okay.
There is no story of Ndebele. These are Shona tribalists pursuing their own real tribal agenda, using football hooliganism as an excuse. Here in the UK, a referee makes a wrong decision, stones, things are thrown on the field, on the football pitch. Go to Brazil, go to Russia, China. Football hooliganism is a reality. It's got nothing to do with that. People come with their own agendas and do that. You can't blame Highlanders. The only blame that Highlanders has is the fact that it's their home ground and they're supposed to provide a secure security environment for all referees, other football fans, opposition fans. That's it. That's all the blame. Don't start saying develop this, that, and the other. You completely lose the plot and you raise unnecessary tensions. It's got nothing to do with Ndebele's.
Right.
100% better.
Well said, Mkomatich. But it just, it just started me. I started to think, well, how can these people start talking about these things? Is tribalism really still right? Or it's just the same as it was 20, 30 years ago?
Let me put it in a different context. People of Matabeleland are not Ndebeles. That's for starters. Okay? The people of Matabeleland are not Ndebeles as a tribe. They are Ndebeles as a region. Get this very, very clear, Zimbabweans. People of Matabeleland are not Ndebeles as a tribe. They are Ndebeles as a region. Just like you would say Hararians. Just like you would say Bulawaians. That like you'd say Mutarians. There is no such purity for anyone to really claim that Matabeleland people, when they say they are Ndebeles, they are really saying we are people from Matabeleland. Because it's a mixture of Xhosa, Sotho, Zulu, Kalanga, Shona, in equal big numbers. There is no such predominance of the Nguni. The unity of Matabeleland is based on the fact that they speak a common language. Just like the Shonas are not 100% Shona. You've got the Bujga, the Zezuru, Kore, the Karanga, all calling themselves Shona. It does not make them a homogeneous people. These are people from regions called Mashonaland. They are not all Shona one tribe. They are all the various dialectical differences that make them up. Just like Matabeleland. Get that very, very clear in everyone's mind. There is no Ndebeles as a tribe that is violent. There are people from Matabeleland, we, the Ndebeles, abantu abasuka koBulawayo, abantu abasuka eMatabeleland. We come from that region in Matabeleland. And we are all mixtures, just like anywhere else in Zimbabwe. The only thing that is common among us is we all speak a common local language called Ndebele. It does not make us the yesteryear warriors of Ziligazi that came raiding. No, the people of Matabeleland are not the warriors of Ziligazi that came raiding. They are a mixture of modern day Zimbabwean society. This should sink in. Politicians should make this very clear. There is no area in Matabeleland where you will find pure Ndebeles congregating on their own or doing their traditional rites, rituals, and traditions and customs. There is no such thing. You will find Kalangas there. You will find Xhosas going for their traditional things, doing their own things. Sothos doing their own thing. Nyasarandes as well. Shonas as well. So this is nonsense. It's a complete non-starter. It's a pure political divide and rule nonsense that ZANU-PF has perpetuated and is the main perpetrator to this day. West, with their guilty conscience on the Gukura Hundi, they still continue to rule and divide. That's
what it is. Aiwa, thank you so much, Mkomatich, for that clear explanation. For some of people that don't know, some people like myself who might not know one or two things there, we always learn from this show. It's 8 minutes before 11 Zimbabwe. We'll be back after a minute and a half.
We have listened to better music. We have seen better things. We've been to it all. Zimnet Radio, all the way.
Know your business. Advertise with Zimnet Radio. Email marketing@zimnetradio.com.
Alright, ndozvo zvinoita muri Zimbabwe. Tiri pano pachirongwa The Men's Corner. Pati kurukura zveduka zvinhu zvinenge zviri kuitika kuZimbabwe on the ground. Takatarisana nematongerwe enyika yeZimbabwe. We're talking about the issue that happened in Bulawayo when Highlanders played Dynamos, and a lot of people are taking it out of context and trying to differentiate between Ndebele people and Shona people. Some even going as far as saying, oh, Ndebele are violent people, and someone is saying the Shona are actually the most violent people, and all that. It's now tit for tat, which we don't want. Everyone has got one goal, and our goal is to make sure that next year everyone is ready for the election and people vote for who they want to vote for in a peaceful manner, and no rigging and all that. Right. Anyway, I'm sure this issue that I want to introduce now, we touched a little bit about it, but someone wrote to me. So if you do write to me with such topics, we can discuss them. There's no problem at all. I'll give you my email address. It's djsodza@zimnetradio.com. That's djsodza@zimnetradio.com. If you've got anything that we discuss here and you think apomarasika and all that, you can always write to me there if you don't want to call us here. And topics is what we need. Topics. I would like you guys, if you give us topics that are actually happening at this time, at this present time. You see, let's say for the whole week, let's discuss that, right, on the show. So sometimes I miss things, but if you remind me, you write me an email and just tell me, DJ, let's talk about this, let's talk about this, let's talk about this. We'll try and squeeze all the topics that you send to discuss in the show. This one is saying that this talk of a grand coalition, who really should be leading it? And there's a question mark there. Who select this leader? Who is going to select this leader? What criteria is going to be used for this coalition to come with a leader? Right. Okay. What criteria should be used? I know different parties on MDC, on NNP and all that. They've got their own criteria of choosing their leaders. Right? But this is a grand coalition. What criteria is going to be used? You know? Or should we just go blindly into the next year election without a clear leader who is going to be on the ballot paper if we are going in all together? And when I posted it into our own separate men's corner group, Yema panelists, Sally now was alluding to the fact that, did you see Dr. Shumba going to South Africa saying that they are forming their own coalition with other people, which exclude MC and Mamjuru and the likes, and Welshman Numan. This is the confusion that ZANU-PF are wishing, one might say. The other day I heard the president saying that when he was at school, if you add 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, 10 zeros will make 0, giving reference to all these so-called parties that want to make a grand coalition. Now, can I start with you, Vapepe there?
Nkoma Sodza, sorry, before you do that.
Yes.
What happened to the question about the Ndebele president?
You wanted me to ask you that as well.
Well, you asked everybody.
I thought I was being smart, Mkoma Teach, and jump you on that.
How can you leave Teach out of that?
Okay, I'm just checking.
No, come on, Teach has to answer that question. Come on. DJ Sodza, don't do that.
I can't believe it. Mkoma Teach, I'm going to ban you from this show now. No, all right. Mkoma Teach, do you think Zimbabwe are ready for Ndebele president? Ndebele speaking president?
Why should Zimbabweans be ready for Ndebele speaking president should be the question. Why should Zimbabweans just be ready for any president from anywhere within Zimbabwe? Be they speaking Dao, be they speaking Tonga or Xhosa or Zulu or Kalanga? Why should it be any specific Ndebele?
Well, it just came because
of the tribalism that has been expressed.
Of the tribalism that has been expressed in the past, and also with this violence that came out. You saw what people were writing on the social media. So that's why the question has come to note.
What you need to first and foremost take into consideration is that the most popular and nationally accepted leader politically in Zimbabwe was Joshua Nkomo. Mugabe has failed to even surpass that. Nobody has surpassed Joshua Nkomo. Joshua Nkomo should never be spoken about in terms of being the Ndebele, because he was the national leader that was nationally accepted, and he is the national leader that groomed all these Robert Mugabes. It's a simple fact. He groomed them. They worked under his wing. So there's no question of people being ready for this, that, and the other, because that was the pioneering leader that we had. So we can't be going backwards like it will be a new thing to have Ndebele as leader. It's not a new thing. It was the pioneering leadership of contemporary Zimbabwe politics. So people need to get their heads screwed right in terms of understanding that we're not saying, are we ready for Ndebele president? We've already had one in terms of Kenneth Banana, and we've already had one in terms of Joshua Nkomo being the person that groomed Robert Mugabe and others.
Okay.
Can I say something quickly? Can I just say something very, very quickly?
Yes.
We even had Josiah Nxumalo as president of Zimbabwe Rhodesia under the Mzorewa Smith Agreement tripartite. And so people need to stop this nonsense of saying, are we ready for the Ndebele president? We've had 3 of them.
My darling Tish, I love you dearly, okay? But seriously, in the political environment that has been created with all the cuck, and that I'm being very polite.
You need to be polite, Sally, thank you.
Yes, I know, okay? That is why you find me pausing, because I'm thinking. With all the cuck that has been thrown at the people, the political, the environment the political environment, whatever you want to call it, in Zimbabwe, okay, right now, is not Ndebele speaking friendly. You can say what you want, my darling, okay? Yes, it shouldn't be, okay? It shouldn't be, but it is. The people have to be re-educated, and they're only going to be I don't know what other word to say, okay? Untraumatized or whatever, by us speaking about it and reminding people like you did of the past and how it worked in the past. So there are a lot of people that would not accept it. And that's the truth, the simple, povo truth. And we have to help the people again to get to that place that where it's normal. It's not abnormal. There's nothing abnormal about speaking in the Ndebele or living in Matabele land or whatever, okay? We have to get the people there again. And it's through us talking about it and the leaders of the parties talking about it and acknowledging what's wrong and reminding people of how things were and how things came about. Okay? Not by talking over people. We have to talk to the people and we have to acknowledge the pain of the people, what has been done to them, the divisions that have been caused. It's there. It's been done. And that is why I said, no, the people are not ready. In the atmosphere with the way that people are thinking, no, they're not ready.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Well,
I'll shut up.
Let me just complete my input on that particular note in coma so that we proceed. Otherwise, we can get bogged down. As far as I am concerned, as I said before, Matabeleland is a region. And in that region, you have a mixture of people, just as you have in Mashonaland, Central, West, South, Manicaland, Mashingo, and the Midlands. People need to stop looking at Matabeleland, the region, as Ndebele. This is where the major problem comes. If a person from Matabeleland emerges with national leadership qualities, as has happened already before, there is no reason why that person cannot be president as long as they are elected by the majority of Zimbabweans, period. The point right now is, if a person can emerge from anywhere in Zimbabwe, they should be president. We should not be worrying about whether they are Ndebele or whatever. The point is, I made it clear why I wanted to answer the question was that it shouldn't be even a question because we've already passed that threshold before. The politics of today of divide and rule, as Sally is clearly articulating, yes, they are there, and it's up to the person that emerges to overcome them, because that's what makes him a leader or her. So the issue is no longer a question of saying, can Ndebele be? We need to stop that narrative. If a person from Matabeleland is good enough to be president or lead a party that can come into government, so be it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Mkoma Benford, you wanted to add something there quickly?
Yes, I wanted to agree with what Sally is saying. I think that is the truth, the matter on the ground. What Mkoma is saying is right, and that is the ideal thing. That's what we would all want. We would want to select our leaders based on
qualities.
Merit.
Yeah, on merit and not on where they come from. But that is the ideal world. If I agree with him, Joshua Nkomo was probably the most nationalistic leader we've ever had. But the sad part is he is not the guy who led us into independence. And if you ask yourself, why is that the case? I would say to answer that question is mostly tribalism. And we can pretend, as much as we want to say it's over, let's not, but that is not the reality on the ground. And that is what Sally was saying, that is what I was saying earlier on. That the people on the ground, as you translate that, they are told this guy is in the valley, and I even gave you the example of why when I watched Menuwe to go and call Mutambara, it didn't make sense. Why did they bring Adam Mutambara to lead the MDC party? Personally, if I look at Gibson Sibanda and Morgan Tsvangirai, I would have put Gibson Sibanda as the president of the MDC. He had better leadership qualities, but the reality on the ground, it's sad for our country. We are not saying but it's a sad reality for our country.
Mkoma Benford, ndafunga kuti ndaconclude zvangu, but thank you for your input, but you are so wrong in so many aspects. I mean, factually wrong. For starters, we need to appreciate the fact that General Rex Nongo was ex-Zebra. He joined Zanla already a senior member within Zebra in 1971. That's the first point you need to understand. Before the ceasefire finalization, General Tongogara was already of the opinion that the leadership of the Patriotic Front should be according to seniority, which would have put Nkomo ahead. And you will have to understand that he too worked with the Joshua Nkomo. It's why General Nongo was able to lead Zebra, which was an amalgamation of Zebra and Zanla. These are facts. In 1979, when Tongogara died, so did the unity of the Patriotic Front. It was not only tribalism, but political machinations were at play. Even to this day, we don't know why and who killed Chairman Chitepo for the balance of power within ZANU to shift and be what it is. And now for Welshman Ngube, you may want to understand that Welshman Ngube is actually not from Matabeleland, but from the Midlands. And that alone has got nothing to do with them hiring him Tambara, because they wanted to attract a broader political sphere of the effect of the regions that Mtambara came from Manicaland. If they wanted to hire somebody, then maybe they should have hired somebody from Mashonaland. The truth of the matter, they wanted someone who will make it seem that David Coulthard and Welshman Ngube, who themselves were perceived as coming from Matabeleland or from the Midlands and Matabeleland, were not rebelling against Tsvangirai because he was Shona or any other tribe. So they had no choice but to bring someone that neutralized that perception. You're right, there is the tribal element in the general population that are not in the know. But the facts are exactly as I am telling you, have absolutely zero to do with tribalism, but regionalism in the perception of the politics of divide and rule that ZANU-PF has fostered upon the nation.
Okay. Right. I think we ought to move on. It's 11 minutes after 11, actually. So we've got about 45 minutes before we conclude. Vamoyo maswera maamuka seiko ku Australia.
Ayo tamuka mgoma kana maswera.
Dziri seiko muri dzinotamba ere kweyo.
Aiwa dziri nani?
Aiwa tinofara
dziri sedzenyu.
Aiwa kuno dzinongokosora dzichisvipa. It's very good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Vamoyo coalition makainzwa kuti Zimbabwe they are talking of grand coalition. Munofunga here imi kuti coalition inosungirwa kuti inge ine anoitungamirira coalition iyoyi, because how are they going to go on the ballot paper wari kana kuti 10 as a coalition?
DJ,
yes,
you remember that my money mvunzeo and then you didn't give me a chance.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But anyway, that's fine. You can, yeah, but I just want to remind you, I'm not trying to shoot you down. Musa Pemukana Amoyo. chiregai vamoyo vataure zveindo zotaura
zvandazofunga manje ndezvekuti vamoyo kavanonoka kusvika, saka ndikati chiregai ndipe vamoyo first kuti vabva vangotaura kuitira kuti ndisazokangana kuti vadiva vataure something. I'll come kwamuri vapepe in a minute. Thank you so much for that. Vamoyo mubvunzo maunzwa pindurai tinzwe because ndoda kupai mukana because manonoka kusvika.
Aiwa tinotenda chaizvo mukoma. The unfortunate part in there the politics that is at play now, particularly in the opposition politics, is first and foremost academic, and secondly elitistic, which I think they will find it very difficult to find traction and resonance with the ordinary man on the street. For those reasons, it's too elitistic and too academic. In the first place, considering a coalition as the alpha and omega to Zimbabwean politics, to me it makes absolutely no sense at all. What about the coalition? And in this coalition, who are these people who are coming together? And if you look at reality now on the ground, the ones who have been talking about a coalition, so far they've merely signed a memorandum of understanding. But immediately after that, we saw public spites being displayed from some quarters of the same coalition, probably making utterances against the spirit of the same coalition that they are muting. And not only that, we see some other people like Vanashumba Mangamshtaura going to South Africa and come up with something else. We have already mass something, MOM, mass something, I can't remember the terminology. And then they are coming up with something else, and then they are trying to rubbish this one here. The major problem that they are going to have, that they already have, it appears it's a matter of individuals who are pursuing personal interest and not national interest, and hence the fighting for leadership and positions and all that. At the moment, I think what will even further complicate it is in the other part of the assumed coalition, Inana Tsvangira and Inana Mjuru, Tsvangira is already putting himself as the leader of that, meaning he's more concerned about personal power and not anything that would benefit the majority. So that will make it difficult in the first place. What will make it even more difficult in the first place is they are talking of a coalition to begin with the simple aim of removing Robert Mugabe. But they are not able to talk of the details of that. It's a mixture of people who have various interests and opinions of various backgrounds and interests. So, as far as I can see, it's near impossible to think of a coalition coming into existence. Firstly, because of the reasons I've given, people are selfish. Those people involved, they are selfish. Secondly, they don't have anything in common other than just anti-Mugabe. And thirdly, they do not have what it takes to unite their own people at the grassroots level to have one objective. And fourthly, avasina time. We have only a year to go to the election. And very soon people will be in the election mood. Saka, sit down, we will come up with all these details, and I don't see it happening. Okay. So this one, instead of being a grand coalition, I think it is most likely in reality to be a grand coalition, not a grand coalition.
Ndinotenda zvikuru vamoyo ndichitaura kwenyu vapebve mazvinzwa zviri kutaurwa navamoyo izvi. I know you've got your own side of the story there that you want to share with us.
Yes, I think before I share with you, let me briefly respond to Vamoyo. I know with Wamoyo from the word go, he has been attacking the coalition. They've already banned discord. Let me say, we are talking of politics. And both parties, Tikatarisama parties, who signed Memorandum of Understanding, which is MDCT, MPP, and MDC. These are democratic parties, unlike ZANU-PF, which is a demonic and despot party. So, in terms of people's views, they've got the right to air their views democratically. And this is exactly what we want as Zimbabweans. If the same was accorded within ZANU-PF, we Zimbabweans wouldn't be where we are today. But let me also say that I think he also alluded to the fact that Tsvangirai has got self-interest, and that the various parties to the Memorandum of Understanding have various interests. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, the fact that they are political parties, stand-alone political parties, is basically means they've got interest about their ideology, interest about the people of Zimbabwe. And I know you also said that they've nothing in common. Well, I'm surprised that Moyo is now becoming the referee of the opposition. Of course, we've got something in common, and the main reason, the main objective that we are rallying behind is that we want to and that is one thing that both NPP, MDC, MDCT do agree. 2018 is the month of all elections, and we must, without fail, defend the voter, defend the vote, and defend the voted. And that is at all costs humanly possible. Let me then also now do my contribution in terms of, I know there was a question to say, who is supposed to choose the leader? And also I think there was a question of saying
what criteria?
The criteria that they will use. And I think some people are saying, is it MDC facilitating? But let me say that for any coalition, there must be somebody who initiates it. Right? Otherwise, you don't expect it that, a spark from heaven will actually unite opposition parties into one. There must be somebody to initiate it. And we are talking of Memorandum of Understanding. A Memorandum of Understanding, the fact that the parties themselves have signed it, it gives a starting point of discussions further to come up with the operationalization of the way forward as we journey into 2018 elections. Now, in terms of who is going to be the leader, I know there have been speculation all over. As a coalition, we have not concluded or endorsed a specific candidate as yet as a unitary leader going forward in 2018.
Is it not too late now, Apebe?
Sorry?
Is it not getting late now before you come up with that person?
No. It's not.
Oh,
Look
okay.
at it. Look at it. It is a process. It's not an event. The fact that actually leaders have signed a Memorandum of Understanding today, as we speak, in April, in May, right? It is an achievement because it has never happened in the history of Zimbabwe. It has never happened in the history of Zimbabwe. And that actually should assure Zimbabweans, for the first time, there is this assurance that we are not repeating the same strategy expecting the same result. Things have changed. Their approach and strategies have changed. So we are saying that, yes, we have got now leaders that have signed the Memorandum of Understanding. The way forward is now to operationalize it. And this is the phase that we are getting into. But let me also weigh in to say, like any negotiation processes, I know people are saying, Shumba nevamwe vakaenda kunana South Africa. You know, it is their democratic right. If, for your own information, there are now 54 registered political parties in Zimbabwe. Right? And most of those, they are either one-man band, a few people, a family, or, you know, with the uncles and the village, at the village level, most of these are actually sponsored in ZANU-PF to cause confusion. And what we are saying is, these three parties, the main parties that we talked about, for you to have a coalition, it is not only in name, it should be people coming together with a common purpose and also adding value to each other. And if somebody comes and is one person with the, you know, the too as a political party, probably they are not people who can add value to the cause. But what they are saying is, our South Africa, they've got their own rights. They can have a coalition, and if they've got a common purpose and they're adding value to each other, that's fine. But we are talking about the main coalition of the biggest opposition parties in Zimbabwe. And what we are saying is, are we adding value to each other? Of course, that's why we signed the Memorandum of Understanding. All those are actually enshrined within the framework of the Memorandum of Understanding. Oh. Otherwise, there was no reason why these people could come together in any way if they think that they are not adding value to each other. So yes, and what we are saying is Zimbabweans should be wary of the political parties that are just mushrooming now as a one-man band. You know, it's sponsored by ZANU-PF to cause confusion. So this is where we are, and I think Zimbabweans should welcome this initiative of a true, reflective coalition of political parties with the people, because it is important. This should be coalition political parties with constituencies which are adding value to a struggle.
Thank you so much, Vapepe. I can see there a lot of listeners are tuning in. Thank you so much for that, guys. For those just tuning in now, we are talking about the Grand Coalition. That is, now I'm told there's two coalitions now mushrooming there in Zimbabwe. But anyhow, my question today from the listener was that have they got a leader that is going to be spearheading that coalition, who is going to be on the ballot paper next year? I'm told here now, to know that hasn't materialized yet. It will be. It's a process. It's not just something that will just happen overnight. It's a process. So they are in that process, and when they choose someone to be spearheading it, we will be told, and we will have the answers that you may want. But anyhow, Mkoma Wilbert, I want to hear what you got to say as well. Your coalition. Now I'm told there's actually two coalitions now there. Mkoma Wilbert.
Yes, I think my position is very clear. The coalition has never been the answer to our problem. If we want political change, the coalition is not the answer to it. You ask all these opposition parties whether the elections in 2013 were rigged or they lost them because they were divided. And the answer comes again and again that the elections were rigged. So if the elections were rigged, what's the point of the coalition? Look at Robert Mugabe's results of the presidential in 2018.
Can I just ask you?
Let me finish it. Before
you go further, 8%.
Let me finish, then you can answer it.
Simbamakon got 8%. 8%. That wasn't that a division?
Okay, let me finish. Let me answer that point. What is 8%? But Robert Mugabe got 82%. Sorry, 62%. So that means that even if Simbamakon was not there and there was only one candidate, that candidate would have got 38%. 38% does not beat 62. That is a fact. That is a mathematical fact.
No, there's not. Where are you getting the 62%?
Rules of mathematics. Mathematics is
2008. Where are you getting the 62%?
Okay, let me finish my point. Then you can answer it, Pepe. There's no point in talking over me because I didn't talk over you either.
You've got your facts wrong. Get facts right, Telembe.
Yeah. Okay. The point I'm making is that the coalition only works when you're talking of maybe parliamentary elections, but presidential one, the result was very clear. ZANU-PF, as long as
the
62%, it will win.
Which election?
Which election?
2013.
Okay, carry on.
Okay.
So in this particular case, as long as they're able to rig the election and bring in voters like we saw in Mount Pleasant, burst in to vote to boost up ZANU-PF's numbers, they will still rig the elections. So the point there is address the point of rigging the elections.
Because that's the coalition is addressing it.
From the opposition that they are looking at these new voter registration systems. The kit itself can be as good as you like. It can be the best in the world. But as long as you give it to a corrupt ZEC, that corrupt ZEC will be able to do whatever it likes and corrupts the system. So that the result itself reflects a ZANU-PF win. That is what we are looking at. And therefore then I think in this particular case it's totally misleading the people of Zimbabwe thinking that the coalition will be the answer. It was never the silver bullet.
Okay.
The silver bullet is implementing the democratic reforms to make sure the elections are free, fair, and credible.
Okay, right. But Makadaro, Mukoma Wilbert, I think Wapepe and Mukoma teach have got discrepancies with the 62% that you're talking about. I don't know, one of you, have you got any discrepancies on that?
Yeah, I think what I said, look, he was saying, all my elections, the outcome was not because people were divided. Votes. I weighed in to say, if you look at 2008, Pakaita Simbamakoni 8, right? Tangirai 47, Mugabe 42, right? 8 is those that's Simbamakoni. If Simbamakoni, let's say there was a coalition, there was even after, yes, we know Pakaita Riga, but there was not even going to be a rerun if there was a coalition of opposition. And that is a straightforward mathematical justification. Okay. But again, yes.
Mukoma Tish, is that what you wanted to say?
Can I
just wanted to clarify which election.
Oh, okay, which election? Okay, that's fine.
Let him carry on.
Okay. Sorry, can I just answer that one, Kiri DJ?
Okay.
In 2008, what also came out, which is very clear, was that MDC had actually won those elections. The reason why it took ZANU-PF 6 weeks to recount is that they had to change the figures, go to the various centers and change them in case they are challenged in a court of law. So in this particular case, the whole point was reduce Tsvangirai's vote to below 50% plus 1 to win. So even if there had been only 2 candidates, ZANU-PF would have seen to it that Tsvangirai vote is reduced below 50% plus. And that is what part of the rigging is, if as long as you have got the people who do the counting and they belong to you, and you can tell them, this is the result we want, now go back and count it so that you get it. That is rigging.
My problem with you
keep on arguing about there's no rigging, and then you accept that.
No. It's not rigging. Wilbert, my problem with you is that if we ask you today to say, okay, fine, today, what your coalition is not an answer, right? Tell us, what is the answer today? What is the answer from today going on?
Koma Wilbert will tell you he wants reforms.
Nobody who is going to do the reforms? Is ZANU-PF going to reform itself?
Is that what you're going to say, Mkoma Wilbert, that you want reforms?
Let's just be realistic.
Let me answer that one. The answer was actually given in 2013 as well. That as long as you hold elections without any meaningful democratic reforms, ZANU-PF will win them. So it's either you are accepting that ZANU-PF is destined to win all the elections like they win in 2013, then that is what you are accepting. But you should say so up front. And not
what you are saying is
right. Stop. This argument is going in circles.
Who is going to implement the reform today? We Zimbabweans want to change. They want to remove ZANU-PF once and for all in 2018, right? ZANU-PF has got a majority by hook or crook, right? They are not going to reform themselves out of power. Zimbabweans have to grab. What we are saying is, let Zimbabweans come together, right? And take the power from the jaws of the dictator. No dictator will give you power on the silver platter. That's what you are saying.
Right.
No. What you should be saying is accepting the fact that ZANU-PF has got the power to rig the elections to the point where it's totally meaningless, because when you
the reforms are going to change that. The reforms aren't going to change anything. While you have ZANU-PF in power,
Sally.
Okay.
Gosh. Right. Okay. Okay.
Can I ask the question, please?
Okay. I'm sorry. I think we ought to move on. Sally, let me come to you. Ndabvunza mubvunzo wekuti coalition, right? Who is the leader of the coalition as we speak, and what criteria is going to be used to choose a leader of that coalition? Or vanongoenda as a coalition without a known leader? This is the question that someone had asked. Would you like to answer that?
Yeah, but no, I can't answer it because I'm not part of that coalition. I can hear myself again. Yay. Okay, I'm not part of the coalition. Whether the coalition has a leader or not depends on the parties in the coalition. Okay? And until the coalition sits down and hammers that out, okay, and in the process, I mean, they inform us as to what is going to happen, okay? I mean, I can't say anything. But one thing I will say, okay? There are two things I'm going to say.
Sally, hold on, Sally. Mkoma Tawanda.
Yes.
Kune radio yakavhurika here? Have you been listening to radio?
Kwete.
What you got feedback from there? I might have to cut you off, I'm afraid. Right, okay, Sally, go ahead.
Okay, yes, the coalition is the only way, okay, that ZANU-PF is going to be got rid of, and our country is going to be rebuilt again. I have faith in that coalition, more faith than I'd ever had before, okay? And two, you can implement, okay, don't shut me down, okay, just let me say this for the millionth and the last time. You can implement 2 trillion, billion, whatever reforms, while ZANU-PF is in power, number one, they aren't going to reform themselves out of power, okay? And number two, they will cheat. Finished. Reforms are not the solution. The solution is a coalition bringing the people together, okay? And protecting the people, protecting their vote, and protecting the voters at all costs. At all costs. Stick the reforms where the sun don't shine, light them with a stick of dynamite, do whatever. But until the coalition is in power, those reforms will never, ever, ever, ever be implemented. Thank you.
Aiwa, thank you so much, Sally. Right. Mkoma Tawanda, I think Mungachifona Jeni, because Sally was getting very agitated there. I think Mkoma Benford wouldn't mind hearing his voice back. Mkoma Benford.
Yes, DJ Sodza.
Yes, maunzwa mvunzo wandabvunza wamwe uyu. Imi munoti kudini zvawo?
Yeah, mvunzo wenyu ndaunzwa DJ Sodza. I think after what happened to Gambia, you'd want to think the coalition is probably the best way to go. Unfortunately, it's not going to work for our situation in Zimbabwe. I totally agree now, Moyo. Opposition, they are uniting for the sake of removing Mugabe. And they don't have an agenda, number one. If you look at the people who are in the coalition, it's more of personal fulfillment other than Kutwanda could lead the nation. I listened to what the opposition leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, said. It's really sad. He described this process as Chitikwanzi, Javafano kuti tabati kudzingirira muka yedu all along us. Yosvika yofira mushamako waakuda kuiclaima kuti ndeyako. So he feels entitled just because he has been in opposition for a long time. To him, he feels entitled to be the leader of the coalition. And also the event that has been happening on the ground seems to allude that he has assumed that role as the leader of the opposition. So that's part of the sad story. If you probably saw what Tendai Biti wrote, which appeared on some online forums today, Tendai Biti predicted that even with the grand coalition, ZANU-PF is going to win in 2018. And that is very sad if you hear that coming from one of the prominent opposition leaders who I would have assumed is going to be part of that coalition. But he knows the coalition is, Yamargita is it's a meaningless coalition, and therefore it's not going to produce any result. So the only reason they are moving into the coalition, it's Kutiwango feel if they are going to lose my election at 2018, they will feel maybe we could have done things differently. Just to finish and wind up my views, DJ Sodza, unless the opposition come up with an agenda that will help and will appeal to the Zimbabwean people, we can talk about the coalition as much as we want. It's not going to work.
Okay. Aiwa, thank you so much, Mkoma Benford, for that. Well articulated. Mkoma Teach, what's your take on this one?
A grand coalition is a grand coalition. And whether it succeeds or doesn't succeed is neither here nor there. The point is right now, those that are mooting the grand coalition see it as a viable option in terms of wresting power from the corrupt ZANU-PF. It's as simple as that. Anyone wanting to qualify it on any other basis, they are only pushing their own narrow agenda. The Grand Coalition is about a change of regime in Zimbabwe. We are talking about a change of regime, and that change would usher in a new era. It's not about whether the coalition is going to be led by who or the other. The two people that have spoken clearly on the coalition, they said within their memorandum of agreement, they want someone who will be able to take the power, etc., etc. The criteria has already been set as to what they expect the person to achieve and the appeal that that person has got to have with the masses. The coalition cannot be judged at this point until it has come together and it's got mass movement backing it up. The truth of the matter, and simply put, is that on average, ZANU-PF has maintained its electoral average, and the opposition has been successfully split by ZANU-PF, and they have come to that realization that come every election time, you have this mushrooming of all sorts of political parties that in the interim you never hear about them, but they crop up and crop up, and some get so much coverage from the state media you wonder who they really are. And that is what the Grand Coalition is about. Whether they will win or not win is neither here nor there. The Grand Coalition has got a mission, and that mission will be fulfilled come election time. And right now, I can tell you that the nation as a whole, including within ZANU-PF, are alert to the fact that President Mugabe is coming to the end of his natural life. And the simple truth of the matter, he's been a dictator within ZANU-PF and nationally. And as a result, his authority is unchallenged within ZANU-PF and nationally. And everyone sees an opportunity right now that because he's coming to the end of his natural life, we should all come together to shape the future of Zimbabwe politics and consequently the future of our own lives and our children and the other generations to follow. It's an opportunity. Whether it will come to pass, the ball has already been set in motion. And as Zimbabweans, we should be engaged in shaping our future. Whether there will be false starts, whether there will be successful false flags by ZANU-PF to derail as they are doing, is neither here nor there. The truth of the matter is that we're saying let's all come together to participate in shaping the future of our country. And the Grand Coalition is one such initiative. There will be others that will come up with their own little side shows. It's always been the case. And you can't take that away from them. It's the same democratic right that we're crying for. So if Shumba and others decide that they're going to have their own little side show on that side, let them do that. If it eventually contributes to the greater whole of shaping the future of Zimbabwe, hallelujah. But that's the future of Zimbabwe right now, being shaped post the Mugabe era. Because the Mugabe era is absolutely unequivocally coming to an end. And if we don't do something to prepare ourselves to shape it, then we will have a Mnangagwa coming in, and because we know that if Mnangagwa wins, he can't win nationally election. So it will be another dictatorship to maintain a stranglehold on power. And when the coalition comes together, you will see the campaign strategies that are already in place, and then you can make a judgment. Right now, you can judge all you want. It's your democratic right. We can't take that away from you. We can't even argue with you on that. It's your take. But the Great Coalition, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's strong or weak, whether you think it will work or not, or whether it's viable or not, is neither here nor there. The Great Coalition is coming.
Mukomatichi, chimbonditsanangudzirai mukomatichi. Ndinonyatsokunzwisisa saka ime muri kutaura kuti I understand you are saying kuti this is a good thing, but let's say kuti ZANU-PF yoti June next year my elections coalition, what happens at the ballot paper? Vanhu vanondovhotera pai panani?
Mukoma says I'm disappointed you are not listening. I just explained to you that the Grand Coalition is coming together. The Grand Coalition has started officially by the signing of memorandums of understanding. The next stage is coming up with the criteria and the structure of the coalition. So the structure of the coalition, you have not even heard about it, but you're already asking who's going to lead it. That's putting the cart before the horse.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay.
The coalition is coming together institutionally, it's taking shape. And when that institution is up and running, it will have its principal or CEO appointed by the people that are members of that grand coalition. They will come up with a criteria to choose their leader. As Nkomo, who comes from the biggest opposition party, has said, it's not Morgan Tsvangirai anointed or anyone. The grand coalition will come up with a criteria as the institution of the grand coalition takes shape. It's not an absorption of all the parties that will join the grand coalition. Parties will still remain as they are. The grand coalition will have a mission that is outside the range of individual political parties, but a national opposition to ZANU-PF coming together to ensure we shape our future political leadership.
Someone said to me that you're running out of time. Are you? Is the coalition running out of time?
What time frame is that someone got?
I don't know. I'm just posing a question.
Okay. Put it in a different way. What time frame is required and to do what?
Right. Time frame which I was referring to. We have a deadline, the election day, which definitely is coming. It means your operational time frame has to be between today and the day of the election. The time frame we run out.
You run out for who?
For them.
Who? Them who?
You
that we are building an institution and it's going through its formative stages and will come to where it is. How do you know what our targets and deadlines are? We haven't told you.
Some of the things you don't need to be told, but we can see what is going to happen.
Well, then that is an advantage for you as the ruling party then.
Okay.
No, right. So be happy and leave us alone to stay home.
No. There's the other.
You're coming up with this political diatribe that we are running out of time, and I'm asking, what time is that? Right now, dissolution of parliament has not even been enacted or even considered. We are still running by-elections to show that the life of the parliament is still substantive. Where are you getting your deadlines from? Look, we know what we're talking about. We know how government runs. We know how the Zimbabwe system of governance works. We know the time frames of elections and the electoral laws, how they operate, what is required and what is not required in terms of preparation of law. The president has not dissolved the parliament, neither has parliament dissolved itself. Those are the two criteria that come in to determine the next general election. Nothing of that sort has happened. We are running by elections at the moment.
All right.
Yeah, but...
No, there's no but. I've just told you, it's a simple fact. It's not a debatable issue. You're just wanting to come up with, again, the usual political diatribe, meaning nothing, and assuming we don't know how the things work. I've just told you, the coalition has got its own targets and deadlines. It's got its time frames, and they're not determined by ZANU-PF or its acolytes.
Oh, okay.
Right.
We understand that. We'll wait and see.
Okay.
At the same time, they were
Let's not waste time with you talking nonsense.
Right.
Just a few
Mkoma Tawanda.
DJ.
Koenda wakunonoka kuya kushow Mkoma.
Sorry. Mabasa acho kani mashift kamu DJ mashift.
I know Mkoma Tawanda atisina time yakawanda, but you are pro the coalition yourself and you are pushing for it. But the question that was posed by someone akandinyorera kunoku, one akanga arina kuziva kuti ma structures akamira sei mu coalition imomo, maana leader here, tapindurwa kunzi asati apo munhu anonzi ndiye achatungamira coalition, zvichagarwa pasi zvichiitika. They've got their own time scale, which really we don't know what's the time scale. But anyway, Vamoye come up and say they are running out of time, and some people have said to me, But now they've got only 1 year. Really, they should do, make their story out and rally behind one person as a coalition starting from now, so that they've got a period of campaigning vachisundidzira vakadaro. But I've been told namukomatichi navapebve kuti aiwa zvese zviri mugwara, we should sit tight and relax. They will do it on their own time and they are going to conquer. Imimi muripapi imimi, do you agree with them too?
Imi ndingatongotaura nenhau yecoalition iyoyi DJ, because I know some people, some skeptics are against it, but all people who are progressive, who want to see change in Zimbabwe, would want to see a coalition coming up, and it's going to come up. People can talk about the issue of time. It's 16 months before elections, and we believe we have the time. There are things that have to be considered. If the coalition comes too early, it also runs with the risk of being infiltrated. The issue in Zimbabwe is the issue of infiltration. ZANU-PF infiltrates everyone. There are CIOs from Mustika, there are CIOs everywhere. There are CIOs in every political party or in every social organization. So it can also be strategic. I'm not saying that's the reason why they are not having a coalition now. But the coalition, from my point of view, is the best thing that can ever happen to Zimbabwe. And kungwara kuchinja zvinhu maitiro aunongochita zvinhu kupusa kuramba uchingoita chinhu chimwe chete over and over again, results ari mamwe chete pasina chiri kuchinja. Saka right now what we have in Zimbabwe, we only have one way, because we have tried the other way. We have tried to support MDC, we have tried to support our individual parties on their own, and we have failed. And we have failed dismally to dislodge ZANU-PF. Whether we failed genuinely or not, whether we failed because ZANU-PF has been cheating and rigging elections, that is neither here nor there. Now what we just need to do as Zimbabweans is to come together and have one coalition. And together we are stronger. And stronger, we will definitely conquer. What is the coalition going to bring to the Zimbabwean people? We have different leaders. And from those leaders, we are going to select one leader. But we will look definitely the leadership and the people in political parties are looking at what each political party or each political leader is going to bring to the table. And that is what is taking time. And that is what always takes time at coalition making. So the question of just picking an opposition party. If you look at a party like MDC, that's obviously the biggest opposition party, led by Morgan Tsvangirai. Morgan Tsvangirai is like a magnet. He attracts all the people in the grassroots. You call for a rally with Morgan Tsvangirai, people will come. I'm saying what I'm doing right now. We are doing the Nera rallies. We put Morgan Tsvangirai's face, we put Mayamuduru's face there. They draw people. People will just come because of him. So we know already Morgan Tsvangirai's strength, that he has grassroots support. There is no way you can think of a coalition in Zimbabwe that will leave Morgan Tsvangirai. People can say whatever they want, they can hate him, they can love him, but it will never work without MDC. And then you also look on the other hand, what does Joyce Mzuru bring to the table, to that coalition? Joyce may be the trump card, the biggest trump card in our election. She can even be the person who is going to change the course of Zimbabwe. Because for the first time, we have someone who can take votes, or supporters from ZANU-PF. She's maybe not even going to take millions from the opposition. She's not going to divide our vote, but she's strategically going to take the support of ZANU-PF in ZANU-PF strongholds, especially in the rural areas. So they will look at that. What is she bringing to the table? That is what she's bringing to the table. And then you have a person like Nuve, Rosemary Nuve. She has support in Matabeleland. And you need someone like that. And then you also look at the skills that those leaders will bring in. A person like BT doesn't have any support on the ground at all. I know his supporters will not like what I'm saying, but that is the truth. But he has international lure, he has international support. You go to the State Department here, you go to the organizations, I've been there. They will ask you, if you talk to Tendai, what is Tendai doing? Is Tendai going to be part of this? He has that international allure, So you need someone like that so that you can attract international support, international recognition. So that definitely is what a person like P2 will bring to the table. And then we have people like Jacob and, Maslin. Jacob is young. He's only 40 years old. He attracts the youth. His programs and everything that he has been doing all this time, people have been seeing, he's attracting the youth. The same applies to someone like Maslin Chika. I'm just speaking. It's not like, I know anything about what is going on. I'm just speaking. Maslin will attract the women vote. So those are things that people will look at when they are looking at coalition building. Zanundonga, if they know that if they give Zanundonga, Zanundonga will win, especially with the support of all the other political parties against ZANU-PF. So those are things that leaders and people are looking at right now, considering what each leader, what each political party is going to bring to the table. And then at the end of the day, look at that and come up with a coalition. And the people who are in the coalition, the people who are going to be part of that, will sit down now and democratically elect a person whom they think can win against ZANU-PF. And we don't know who it is. It can be Maimzuru, it can be Morgan, it can be Jack, it can be Piti. That has to be decided by the people who they have set down on the table with consultation of the people.
Aiwa. Thank you so much, Mukoma Tawanda, for that. Those are Shineta Zimbabwe. It's a minute before midnight, Kunoku United Kingdom. Mukoma Elliot Febe, you've got some engagement that you are going to attend on the 8th of June, if I'm not mistaken. Would you like to share with us what you are going to, where you are going, what you are going to talk about, and if maybe some of the listeners want to get involved with what you are going to represent us there?
Indeed, I've been invited to attend the Africa Summit in Brussels on the 6th June 2017, and this is organized by the World Bank and EU. At that summit, we'll be looking at solution for new African development, partnership with the EU and the global world. With a view to look also at the Mediterranean crisis. I think most of our listeners will remember the Mediterranean crisis in terms of boats and ships, which have been ferrying people from Africa to EU, and most of those actually have ended up in calamity. So yes, that's the summit that I'm going to attend on the 6th of June. Then I'm also attending a high-level meeting of African Union and the European Union on the 7th June. And that is to take audit of, in terms of Africa development for the past 4 years. I think you remember, some of our listeners might remember that in 2014, heads of state from Africa came to Europe when Mugabe boycotted the summit after Grace Mugabe was refused a visa. So heads of state actually came up with resolutions and a communique with the relationship in terms of investment and bilateral relationship with Europe, that of investment and development other than aid. So I've been invited to attend that meeting to do an overall audit as to what so far Africa has done for the past 4 years and what EU has done in terms of supporting Africa, and also coming up with the agenda items for this year's Africa Union and EU summit, which will be in Ivory Coast or Côte d'Ivoire, where heads of state from Africa, including Robert Mugabe, will be attending. So that's on the 7th. on the 8th of June, I'm attending again another high-level summit to do with, again, in terms of European Union's role in Africa. And this is with the EU Commission on the 8th. And on the 8th is, our listeners might reflect, the 8th will be on a Thursday, and I have suggested that on that Thursday I'll be in Brussels. I can join this show from Brussels and then just update our listeners on what could have aspired and any developments in terms of the benefits to Africa, with particular also leverage on Zimbabwe. So yes, DJ. That's the position.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Apepe. We shall be looking forward to that. Mkoma Tawanda mune chiziviso chipi?
Muse Sunday. Tondo rineri tinenge tiri kuti nhoi tiri kukoka maZimbabweans ese tinenge tiri kushowground kunenge kuine mega rally yemapolitical parties ese ari munera nevasiri munera vanenge variko vanatenda ibiti sayakaitika kuchitungiza iya chakaitika yaifanira akaitwa rally iyo last week but ZANU-PF yanga ichinetsa muchinhoi tikabhuka ground yobva yati vanhu vari kuda kuya kuzotamba bhora ipapo this week futi takaaplya tsamba kuti titakuenda pagadzema ground kuita rally yedu ipapo vakataura zvakare kuti tiriya kuzotambira bhora ipapo saka hamukwanise saka tazoendeswa kusango kunonzi kushowground kuchinhoi saka tiri kukoka vanhu vese vemuchinhoi march west mabhazi anenge aripo achitakura vanhu marori anenge achitakura vanhu ngatisanganei kushowground mayouth ese tichidzidzisana zvekuvhota voter education campaign. Morgan Tsvangirai will be there, Mai Mujuru will be there, and all the other party leaders. Saka hanzi takachaya pachinhoi musesande.
Vanoda zvavo kuenda pachinhoi musesande, those with relatives that can attend. Kwanza hanzi endai. Would there be free beer and meat there?
Kunenge kuine chikafu.
Fabulous. Isu ndo zvatinoda zvechikafu nekumwira izvi.
Bia atipe tinokopa madringi nemvura.
Aiwa. No, thank you so much Mkoma Tawanda for that update. Now my thanks goes to Salim Mkoma Benford, Mkoma Teach, Imimi Mkoma Tawanda, Mkoma Wilbert, Mkoma Elliot, na Mkoma wangu wa moyo ku Australia for waking up early to be with us here today. Thank you so much, guys, for your support and also for taking your time to come and discuss these issues with us here. Zimbabwe will meet next week, same time, same place.